So I thought the next time I came back to the Gunvolt series would be with 3, but I guess Inti Creates had other plans. So a few years ago, I reviewed Gunvolt 1, 2, and Luminous Avenger. There's the card right there if you want to see it. Forgive the audio in the first two, that's before I got my new mic set up. I should go back and spruce those up when I have the time. Anyway, I thought they were fine, but missing a little something. Out of them, I found Luminous Avenger to be my favorite one, thanks to Copen being fun to play, the shop system, and a fun story that kept me engaged. So I was ready to review Gunvolt 3 when that came out, but out of nowhere, Inti Creates announced a Luminous Avenger sequel that was gonna be out in a few months. While I was happy to see that considering I enjoyed the first one, I was also like, maybe we should finish the game we announced before we announce another one? Either way, I was given a review copy by Inti Creates, so thank you for that, guys. So I can take some time to look at this, and don't worry, I won't be spoiling anything since the game is brand new. But being honest, there's not much to spoil anyway. Regardless, what do Copen and crew have in store this time? Let's find out. So the story this time is Copen and crew accidentally open a wormhole to another world where only robots remain and are befriended by a robot Null. After a few months of searching, they find a tower that can supposedly bring them back to their own world, and Copen makes his way up the tower. Gonna be real, that's kind of it. Like, there's not much even to talk about spoiler-wise because that's seriously the whole plot. It's one of those means for another game stories, but I won't lie, the first game had a story that was simple as well, but it felt like it was more effective than the other games and kept me intrigued on details like how the world ended up that way, or characters like Blade. That's really not the case this time. I also feel it goes by way too quick, so I can't really get attached to anyone. Like Null, I barely know anything about her even after finishing the game. It's okay, but it doesn't leave any kind of impact. So for the presentation, I actually want to start with the voice acting since it's easily the biggest change from previous games. For the first time, we actually got an English dub, something I've been asking for a while now, especially with the earlier games when they kept having dialogue mid-stage. And the dub itself, it's okay. The main cast sounded good and what I expected them to sound like, though Lola, I get it, it was an aerial takedown.
Oh yeah! Aerial takedown! Aerial takedown! Aerial takedown! Aerial takedown!
As for the bosses, honestly, their performances were pretty forgettable and not even that charming personally. That also goes for the character designs in general. For the main cast, Copen was the only one that got redesigned, and not gonna lie, I'm not a huge fan of his beefcake armor he's got now. And the boss designs didn't really strike any chord with me. Normally, I love their designs in this series, but nothing really clicked with me this time. All the supers now have full custom animations this time, which is great, though I won't lie, they do feel very mobile gamey. You know what I'm talking about, right? I think they're fine, though I do think I prefer the style from the first one a little bit more. Custom animations, though, are definitely something the series should have going forward. The soundtrack, for the 4th time now, didn't really do anything for me, and the game graphically doesn't do anything better than last time. I didn't expect that to change, and I said my piece last time, so I'll just move on to the gameplay. So as far as the gameplay structure, you know the drill by now. Go beat a boss in the stages, get their weapons, keep the combo going, etc. The biggest change would be that Copen's combat has gotten a rework. He's now more ground focused and he has a better dash on the ground and his new melee attack, but when you're locked onto something it becomes a homing shot. Just as a heads up, the air dash control has been a bit reworked since last time. Instead of holding the direction you want to go, you now either move horizontally or push up or down when you want to go at an angle. That was kind of hard muscle memory to break, not gonna lie. And Darkness Trigger has now been removed and is only part of your super. Instead, you have healing back now by default. However, you can use it as many times as you want, with the drawback being that it gets rid of your score multiplier. And that's about it for changes, so the good time. Okay, the good in Avenger 2. Well, I like how you can customize the dash to be either the Gunvolt 2 version or the Luminous Avenger one, that's nice. The stages have fun gimmicks to play around with, I like this one involving the gears. And there are a lot of times that if you had the right weapon, you could take an alternate path that gave you a lot of goodies, such as money that you can use back at the shop, which two of those upgrades, the attracting money and gaining more money based on your rank, easily two of the most useful ones to get. And I'm at that awkward part of the review where the stuff that makes Gunvolt fun, I've already said multiple times in the other reviews. So I don't really have that much to bring up here, because they did try to spice things up, and the results... Okay, I'm gonna be real, there are a lot of changes in this sequel I did not agree with. The biggest one you can feel right out of the gate. So you may have been seeing this empty show up on the screen a lot. Well, that's because they made Copen, who was able to keep the air combo going, dashing all over the place. You now have one air dash. Even if you hit an enemy, you have to hit the ground after for it to recharge. If you played the previous games, I feel like you might have just done a double take there, and I really do not understand this change at all. Maybe it was to emphasize ground combat, but that new attack isn't that impressive, and air dashing is still the best way to kill enemies. All it accomplishes is make Copen feel way more clunky than he did previously, and me holding on to my dash until I absolutely needed it. Otherwise, I would fall into a pit that I know I could have escaped in a previous game. Trust me, get that upgrade that makes you lock onto enemies if you dash into them on the ground ASAP. And I think the weirdest thing is that the multiple dashes thing is still there, but you need to get Overdrive or Anthem in order to do so. I don't see the need to nerf him when the levels were already designed with his movement in mind last game. And if you missed your target last time, you lost one of the dashes, making a balance mechanic already there. Now, you could argue it encourages people to play better, but I feel like it caters too much to the score attack runs. When I have to play optimally in order to have a character control well and be what they were previously, that's a problem, and it doesn't encourage me to replay the game. It just makes me want to go back to the previous entry instead. And it makes boss strategy movements a lot more limited, removing a lot of the fun of Copen's encounters. Not to mention a lot of the encounters honestly just blend together, since basically it was war of attritioning every single one of them, for a few reasons. One, I didn't like most of the special weapons this time. I only enjoyed two. This helicopter one that gave you a mid-air jump, which I used to try and make up for my lack of air dashes now, and it was a homing projectile when you locked onto someone. And this boomerang one became my go-to weapon since it killed almost every enemy right away. Most of the other ones I found too situational or didn't have enough oomph, you know what I mean? And the war of attrition part because, well, you can heal at any time. And if you don't care about score, you can just keep doing it as much as you want. It's honestly a little too broken, especially because Lola will yell at you every time your health is low, and you don't even need to be on the ground to use it. I guess it's supposed to be some kind of balance mechanic, but the last game didn't have healing by default. And while the last game's encounters were really easy, not having the healing at all honestly made them balance out a little bit better. And also, Darkness Trigger is gone, the mechanic that upped your attack power and score, but made you get hit every second you weren't locked on. It was a good double-edged sword mechanic. I really don't get why they removed that, especially because some bosses, even with their weakness, can take a long time to beat, and while I won't show it, God, that final boss was not fun, and honestly, was just a slog to get through. The game is still about 2 hours long and not much to do after, and it's 25- wait, 25 bucks? The first game was 15 at base. What justifies the $10 price up? I feel like that drives home the biggest thing about Avenger 2. I feel like it's just like the first game, but lesser in almost every way, honestly. And when I compare that to this, I don't see much of a reason to play this one, honestly. Luminous Avenger 2 feels like it was hyper-focused on making Copen play to one gameplay style and changed everything about the game to fit it, all to appeal to on-the-ground point-scoring players, but by doing such it honestly tries to fix a problem that wasn't there and creates a slew of new ones. Copen feels clunky to control now and removes the freedom that he had previously. The bosses are nothing to write home about, a barely anything story. Really the only positive change I have for this game is the English dub, and that's all I really got. It's not a bad game, but it's easily my least favorite in the series now, and I don't see myself coming back to this anytime soon. If you're interested, wait for a price drop. It really doesn't have anything to justify the higher price. Look, I don't like being a downer in these reviews, but honestly, that's just kind of how I felt after playing this one. This is kind of what I was talking about when I said the series started to feel like it was getting too complacent with itself. The first Gunvolt game definitely felt like a first game, but it just needed some polishing up. But it feels like the series for every step forward takes a step back, and I think that leads to where we are now. All I'm saying is that when I review Gunvolt 3, my expectations sadly aren't super high for it. But okay, I think you guys have waited long enough. The next video is going to be Jak 2, and it is gonna be a beefy one, so stay tuned to that in the next few weeks. Anyway, I'll see you then.